You're hearing Journey to Wisdom, Faith, Love, Hope, Breaking into a New Era. The Light is Within You. Written by Linda Vera Roethlisberger. Spoken by Terry Collins, New York City, USA.
Journey to Wisdom, Faith, Love, Hope, Breaking into a New Era. Linda Vera Roethlisberger. TRILOGOS Foundation. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. 1 Corinthians 13. Table of Contents. Foreword. On the Myth of Holism. The True Potential of Man. The Trilogos Method. The Author. The Trilogos Foundation. Let that which seeks change, change. Like water, ask yourself, from where? To where? The impossible wants to be thought, realized. New old paths seek to be forged through impenetrable dreams. We seek and find ways that show everything flows to new shores. Linda Vera. Foreword. When Trilogos was founded in 1990 as an Institute for Personality and Consciousness Development, I realized how deeply anchored the desire is in each individual to develop, to recognize his or her potential, and to learn to draw from it. This potential that we humans carry within us is immense. The great pyramids of Giza, the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, and with them the numerous wonders of the world from antiquity to modern times arose from the vision of their builders. Since time immemorial, the sciences and arts have been a mirror of what the human mind is capable of creating. And it is not the intellect alone that shines. Love and compassion lift man above his ego-centered world and create small miracles every day. Love and healing are our true nature, even though they seem to have been lost to humanity in times of personal or global crises. At the beginning of the new millennium, we find ourselves at the epicenter of such crises. The year 2012, alleged to herald the end of the world, is drawing to a close, and the call for a new consciousness is becoming more urgent. But is this really something new? Have we not always been subject to catastrophes and crises? Are we really in danger? Haven't there always been wars? Have people not always felt the urge to usher in the hour of a new consciousness and to bring the true potential of our nature to bloom for the benefit of all? The laws of nature manifest a cycle of birth, growth, decay, death, and rebirth. A period of upswing gives way to a crisis. Then once at its peak, the crisis begins to shift, with a period of calm returning after the storm. Given this rhythm, humans are tempted to let themselves drift in the tides of world events, in the hope that someone will come to the rescue when things become precarious again. At the same time, we feel powerless in the face of prevailing injustice. We all know that world hunger could be solved, yet not enough is being done to combat it, resulting in fellow human beings dying of malnutrition every minute of the day. Stuck in this mire of helplessness, pity, and repression, we all too willingly pass responsibility to authorities. Still, we all have a responsibility for the condition of our earth, in its cycles of growth and decay, and the impending, inevitable crises. All change begins first and foremost within us. Instead of hoping for the miracle that a new consciousness will take root all on its own, we can take responsibility today, here, now, and in this very moment, and begin to change ourselves. Those who have justice, compassion, peace, and love within themselves carry these into their everyday life, into their relationships, their work, and into the world at large. When we find our inner home, we leave fears behind and dare to take untrodden paths. And when we listen to our inner voice and learn to draw from our divine spark, our potential, we experience inner richness. It is through this inner richness that we become a co-creator and co-designer of our own life, and through this, a bearer of transformation for a new consciousness. Mystics of times gone by have shown people how to find inner happiness, not as a way to satisfy selfish desire, but to realize a holistic sense of harmony and peace within themselves. In the advanced cultures of Asia, wisdom teachings emerged thousands of years ago that are as valid today as ever. The West, too, offers initiation and individuation paths that give everyone the tools to reach inner happiness, joy, and peace. While the Eastern philosophies of life work with various forms of meditation, in the West, it is especially the power of imagination that comes into play, alongside concentration, introspection, and contemplation. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, said Albert Einstein. Indeed, the power of imagination can move mountains and move worlds. Literature, art, music, as well as psychology, especially the teachings of C.G. Jung, Roberto Assagioli, and Viktor Frankl, have set milestones that guide people from the dark night of the soul into the light. According to Immanuel Kant, imagination and genius are closely intertwined. Overall, a multitude of possibilities is available to allow us to access our resources from intra, and transpersonal planes. These include deep relaxation with the help of the imagination, guided daydreaming techniques, deep psychological work with the symbols of humanity, as well as our very own mediumship. The goal is to shape one's own life independently and sustainably on the basis of the entire catalog of our human potential. Knowledge about oneself creates understanding, and understanding creates change. The great painter Van Gogh described normality as a paved road. It's comfortable to walk, but no flowers grow. It is time to turn the paths of hopelessness on our planet into flowering paths. All knowledge to put an end to hunger, wars, and misery is within us, on a small as well as on a larger scale. We only have to take on the responsibility to do so. This booklet explains the principles of the Trilogos Method. Those who allow the insights gained from working on themselves to flow into their everyday lives experience how the power of imagination, together with spirituality, can unfold in a healing way and bear fruit. The journey to wisdom begins with a first step. Let us leave the safe harbor, enter the realm of the unknown, and open ourselves to the wonders of being human. The hope for a better, more just world, faith in unfolding potential, and love itself show us. In the shadow awaits the light that can illuminate our world within the world. Let us build bridges into the unconscious, the transpersonal, and the mediumistic planes, or between the sky, haze, and rainbow. Let us take the first step. Brilliant light engulfs the laws of nature, illuminating and dissolving what is complicated randomly. An invisible spirit traverses the frozen, liquid, or gaseous. Life force is born of time and movement, giving life to that which is dead, and bringing the precious jewels of life to the fore. Do not search for them. You must feel them. The simple takes back its place from the complicated. Inexorable creative power is what moves the world. Old knowledge sets out towards new, by means of a new consciousness for the whole. Let there be light on our journey. Linda Vera. On the myth of holism. When I founded the TRILOGOS Foundation in the summer of 2012, It was out of a desire to provide a research, training, practice, discussion, and exchange platform for all those with a desire to learn more about holistic life concepts, as well as to support people in their genuine humanness. But what does holism mean? In today's world, we encounter the concept of holism in a wide variety of fields, from holistic medicine, holistic learning, holistic management, to holistic therapy. Examples abound, with no topic left untouched. If you trace the origins of the term holism, you will encounter the notion that man was once a whole that was divided either by his fall or by higher powers such as the Greek gods, for whom he became too powerful. The latter view survives up to today in currents of humanistic psychology, which see man as being innately good and perfect, yet which do not attribute division into the sexes, for example, to gods, but to higher powers in the form of global or general social forces. Holism implies wholeness and refers to a system that is made up of parts that are interrelated to each other and to the whole, with the sum of all parts qualitatively exceeding their quantity. In Western philosophy, the concept of wholeness or holism refers to the unity of thinking and feeling, and thus represents an opposition to the pure rationalism espoused by Leibniz, Spinoza, and Descartes. Immanuel Kant opposed the premise of rationalism, asserting that it is inherent in man to ask questions to which pure reason knows no answer. He argued that if theoretical reason cannot grasp the essence of things, then man can think in categories other than reason, whereby the notion of God and the immortality of the soul are facets of reasoning. The heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of, echoed Blaise Pascal, contemporary of an epoch that was also preoccupied with the definitive separation of knowledge and blind faith. However, Pascal emphasized that scientific knowledge as well as theological and philosophical questions are by no means mutually exclusive, but rather have a symbiotic relationship. Heart and mind are by no means to be considered separate from each other, but rather that in their interplay they are the basis of all knowledge. Indeed, mind and emotion do not exist independently of each other. Both occupy space within us at the same time. However, holism does not only concern the heart and mind. Spirituality, too, is anchored in the human spirit. The search for the meaning of life, its significance, and the grand questions about our raison d'être have moved mankind since the beginning of time. These are questions that cannot be answered with science, cognitive thinking, and feeling alone. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Why do we exist? Our earth gave rise to a diverse array of religions, all of which have made it their mission to define the great all oneness, something that to a greater or lesser extent we are all aware of. God, or whatever we conceive this force to be, is the foundation of a humanistic spirituality that reminds us that we are connected with all beings in this cosmos. Besides striving for power, egoism, greed, and hostility, we also carry love, compassion, and altruism within us, and in this wholeness we can grow beyond ourselves. Man is not only concerned with himself. He does not exist only on the intrapersonal plane, but also on the interpersonal and transpersonal plane. He is intelligence, feeling, and spirituality in one, and is interwoven with everything that exists. The human being, in its wholeness, is also at the center of the Trilogos concept. The formula IQ plus EQ plus SQ equals PSI-Q denotes the synthesis of intelligence, IQ, emotion, EQ, and spirituality, SQ. PSI-Q stands for psycho-spiritual, an integrally emergent intelligence, and thus for the entire spectrum of human consciousness. When IQ, EQ, and SQ interact, emergence comes into play. Higher planes of being are derived from lower ones through newly emergent qualities. Significantly, these qualities emerge through the interaction of individual elements. They are not inherently present. None of the elements on their own could have conveyed new knowledge, as this process requires interaction. It also requires skillful networking, clever references to everyday life, to one's own health, relationships, and everyday working life. For this reason, the elements of the Trilogos Method are also structured in such a way that neither cognitive intelligence, nor feelings, nor one's very own spirituality, personal faith, convictions, etc., are neglected on the individuation path. This is because in a rapidly changing world, we depend on holistic insights. They are our anchor, our integrity. It takes such insights to find our way amid the crises of our personal life. When this happens, decisions based on thinking, feeling, and believing, trusting, are in harmony with us as individuals and our environment. Moreover, self-knowledge gives rise to an understanding of the place the individual occupies in this world, of the patterns and dispositions to which he is subjected, and by extension, to a sense of responsibility to our fellow human beings and to nature. Realization leads to inner spiritual and psychic maturity. PSI-Q becomes Psyche, the competence in being human. When man recognizes his potential, learns to draw from it, and leads the shadows of his personality to the light through consistent work on the self, he is ready to live up to his true human legacy. The connection to the spiritual world between the higher self and the true self is created and nurtured so that the true life force can flow more freely and the self can shine in a new light. Human qualities such as empathy, compassion, and altruism are manifestations of the interaction of these three forces. Altruism refers to a behavior that serves others, is unselfish or even charitable. In the animal kingdom, we encounter altruism in different forms. The current scientific consensus is that altruism instinctively serves the concept of species preservation. Altruism toward non-kin or another species, on the other hand, is observed only in humans. As such, although we experience ourselves to be driven by instincts, we also have significant means to control our behavior. Instead of remaining within the confines of the ego, we can will ourselves to act altruistically. Compassion and empathy empower us to expand our own horizon for the good of all. But to be able to help others, to support them appropriately, and to enter into healing relationships with them, inner strength is needed. Those who work on themselves and learn to draw from their potential and shape it responsibly can shine brighter and show others the way into light from darkness. Those who recognize their own potential also know that everything is interconnected at all times. Mystics in Asia described this connectedness with the cosmos based on their intuitive observation in various stages of immersion. Shamans recognized it on their journeys into different worlds. Those who in their work on themselves connect their EQ with the SQ and are inspired by transpersonal planes recognize that in this universe consisting of energy, separation is nothing but an illusion. This is because life is energy and is therefore in relationship to all. The concept of philosophia perennis, or great chain of being, is a term coined by the 16th century Italian bishop Agostino Stucco, and reflects the understanding that certain basic truths have been recognized by a wide variety of peoples through the ages. Some 100 years later, the German philosopher Leibniz would apply the concept of philosophia perennis, or perennialism, to universal laws of mind and nature. In his view, eternal truths are not developed, but exist, as a result of which they can be recognized. Among these eternal truths, in the Trilogos Method sense, is the view that the great whole, God, the creative power, or whatever we wish to call this force, exists. It cannot be sought outside of oneself, only within oneself. Whoever enters into a state of wholeness reconnects to the creative power and embarks on the path of knowledge with the help of their potential, due to their faculty of imagination and conscious perception and awareness, and gains insight into the essence of this and other worlds. This is a reflective exchange with one's world within the world. This person attains wisdom and human competence, which expresses itself in compassion and unconditional love, and at the same time lets them cope with their everyday life. Belief in the good in people and the power of creation, unconditional love, and hope for a better world allow us to grow beyond ourselves. These things enable us to help shape life on the basis of high ethical principles, and in this way contribute to the development of a healthier and wiser society. The more deeply one's own potential is recognized, the greater the chance to make life meaningful and worth living, and the greater the contribution which the individual can make to his fellow human beings and the world itself, out of inner peace and joy. Light in the shade, a 100-voice chorus of branches and twigs stretches out in search of new pinnacles, celestial infinity. Trees of enlightenment mark the ephemeral earthly path for the mindful. Gods from mystical worlds guide the inspired toward their peace. Heaven and earth connect in harmony between dream and reality on the way to being. Linda Vera. The true potential of man. Even though there is no direct evidence for the existence of the unconscious, depth psychology in particular draws on the immense storehouse of information that is being collected and filtered by our daytime consciousness. The unconscious refers to the sum of all our impressions, memories, ideas, intentions, and unrealized talents, as well as the repressed contents of our consciousness, our shadow sides. Our daytime consciousness is busy sorting out and selecting. Indeed, inundated as we are with innumerable impressions on a continual basis, we would be unable to exist in the absence of this filter. But this filtering process is subject to dispositions, beliefs, and convictions. Who is it that tells us what is good for us? Who determines our preferences? Who is it that makes us focus on what we are ultimately perceiving consciously and retaining in our mind? In dreams and fantasy journeys, we can easily access our unconscious. The latter uses the language of symbols, which we can learn to translate intuitively. When making a decision in life, we are able to make use of the information of our daytime consciousness as well as the information from our unconscious. We expand the range of possibilities available to ourselves. We are then in contact with our inner wisdom and can recognize which internal boundaries, drawn in the past, have been keeping us from unfolding our true potential. On the journey to our true self, we recognize the patterns, beliefs, and convictions by which we construct our own reality. Yet, this recognition leads to freedom, namely because we can change these patterns. We are the co-creators and co-designers of our lives. When we learn to create from within ourselves, from the storehouse of our unconsciousness, we succeed in shaping our lives in all their facets. When we learn to recognize the patterns and dispositions of our childhood, and perhaps also of earlier lives, we gain the freedom to depart from familiar paths. When we become better at recognizing ourselves, we also become better at recognizing others and at meeting them with understanding and compassion. But it is not only the unconscious, this intrapersonal plane, that comprises our potential. In the sleep temples of antiquity, which can still be visited today in Epidaurus, the priestly doctors put the sick into an artificial sleep. After that, they would whisper suggestions to them through niches hidden in the walls. The patients believed that these suggestions were voices of the gods. Their self-healing power was activated by the expectation that they would be restored to health through the work of a higher power. Before this, Babylonian priest doctors had used this form of treatment with success. As a result, this form of therapy spread to Mesopotamia, to Egypt, and later to Greece and Rome. In modern times, it is research on the phenomenon of the placebo effect that provides astonishing evidence of the power of the imagination in the field of medicine. From fake drugs to fake operations, the power of self-healing, once stimulated, is potentially just as successful as conventional medical therapeutic procedures. The power of the imagination also plays a very important role in individuation. The ability to imagine, to experience fantasies and visions, and to be inspired is inherent to all human beings. It is also a trainable faculty. In psychotherapy, the imagination is solicited in the catathymic image experience procedure, as it is in the Trilogos Method. The power of the imagination is a resource of the human being, which, if used and guided purposefully, can lead to astonishing results not only in placebo research and psychotherapy, but also in sports, when preparing for exams, meditation, cancer therapy, as well as in the sciences. This is because the spirit precedes matter. In the Trilogos Method, intuition and inspiration also play an important role alongside imagination. Intuition is expressed through subjective recognition of perceptions and the awareness of these intuitions. Inspirations, or intuitions, come from intra, inter, and transpersonal planes. They also belong to the true potential of man and serve as tools for self-knowledge. Returning to our example of the ancient healing temples, we see that aside from the expectation of getting well again, it is above all the belief in the gods and their benevolent voices that stimulates the self-healing powers of the sick person. In terms of Trilogos, the SQ affects the EQ and IQ and leads to one's emergence. Faith alone cannot heal, nor feeling or thought alone. However, when these three forces converge, miracles happen whereby faith can then move mountains. In placebo research, faith and trust play an important role in healing. The only difference is that faith is placed in a medical drug and trust in a medical authority, as opposed to the divine voice. Hence, the SQ expresses itself in manifold ways. Mystics in ancient India devoted themselves to research through meditation. Without advanced instruments, they achieved amazing results with the power of the SQ. In the field of astronomy and physics, for example, their results come amazingly close to current knowledge. Meditation in the form of concentration on the breath or an object is meant to promote immersion, which enables the most varied forms of insight, depending on the depth of the state of mind. In the contemplation that follows, a form of quiet observation, experiences made during the immersion mature into insights. According to Eastern philosophy, we carry everything within us because we are made of stardust. At the particle level, we have primordial energy within us and are in constant connection with all other energy fields. In deep contemplation and with heightened attentiveness, a practiced meditator can gradually attain within himself answers to the grand questions of our existence, such as the origin of humanity. In the West, too, there is a tradition of meditation, initiation rites, and mystical contemplation. With the Age of Enlightenment, the focus shifted more from the community or clan to the individual, and from mysticism to the power of the intellect. From the realization that the questions of our existence cannot be answered with intellect alone, the most diverse philosophical currents arose. However, the question of the meaning of life, of the existence of a creator God, of a continuation of life after death, has remained through today. Sigmund Freud went so far as to describe the human being who devotes himself to the question of the meaning of life as a sick person, insofar as in his view, the asking of such a question testifies to an unsatisfied libido on the part of that person. For Viktor Frankl, on the other hand, the question of meaning is a sign of being human. Even the most wretched prisoner is free, said Frankl, a man who survived 4 concentration camps. In short, he considered that man can transcend himself. Those who set out to tap into their potential, not only to find their own path, but to walk it step by step, and if necessary, to calibrate it as they journey, will recognize the truth in Frankl's wise words, namely, that man is not dictated by his conditions, but by the decisions he makes for himself. But in order to tap into his potential, a method is needed that is both holistically oriented and can be applied to daily life. The path of the mystic who withdraws from the world and directs all their efforts to attaining true knowledge is hardly feasible for most people. Luckily, however, those seeking to stop encountering the same predicaments and obstacles repeatedly and wishing to work for the greater good do not have to withdraw from the world. With the power of their spirituality, feelings, and thoughts, they can find the signposts to inner happiness and peace, and also share them with others. Still engulfed by the world around you, you come to realize the magic of being human. No life can be compared to that of another. Each is unique and is to be respected in the course it is taking. The seas are opening, and before you extends the path to new consciousness. Trust the magic of your inner voice and follow it willingly and with ease. Live confidently and modestly in accord with your inner melody, knowing that the great force will forever guide and assist you on your path of individuation. Linda Vera. The Trilogos Method. The Trilogos Method can be learned independently in theory and practice with the help of the self-guided course, levels 1 through 3, In Touch with Your Inner Voice. Additional group work allows for the acquisition of both intuition and emotional security, and to be able to distinguish true inspirations from imaginations. The individual elements of the Trilogos Method are deep relaxation, a subsequent fantasy journey during which a special topic is dealt with by means of the imagination, as well as the connection to the SQ, considered to be one's primordial spirituality. In a state of deep relaxation, a person's brain wave pattern changes. As the body relaxes more and more, the mind opens to the imagination and the symbolic language that accompanies it. When we are relaxed, we do not cling to everyday trivialities which may be spinning in our heads, or to rigid patterns, or to ideas which the waking consciousness is seeking to impose on us. Relaxation helps to achieve a contemplative state of mind, whereby a passive, receptive state is established. In the exercises of the Trilogos Method, elements of autogenic training and the imagination serve to achieve a state of relaxation. The practitioner learns to leave behind thoughts that may be disturbing them in order to immerse themselves fully in the fantasy journeys. See audios in the self-guided course, level 1 to 3. In order to honor our own spirituality and let it flow into the work on the self, we must take a subsequent step of establishing a connection to the creative power. The Trilogos Method is a non-denominational course, and as such it is up to each person how he names this creative power and carries out his connection, be it in silence or in prayer. In this way, the body confidently falls into an even deeper relaxation, and the mind opens vertically to inspirations that are in harmony with the creative power. In the Trilogos Method, this step is also called religio, understood as the reconnection to the basic trust and the primordial power of eternal love and its light, which at the same time grants protection and security. The companion on the fantasy journeys is the spiritual helper or the personal inner wisdom, who or which embodies the higher self of the practitioner. In contact with the higher self, the practitioner receives symbolic inspirations that are perceived intuitively and come from inter, and transpersonal planes, depending on the level of development of a person's consciousness. It is very important to open oneself to the symbolic messages in a passive, active way of perception. Instead of deliberately forcing a message, the practitioner allows himself to be inspired, trusting that he will receive the information that is right and important for him at the time. The symbolic information received during the fantasy journey can be discussed with the spiritual helper and interpreted with the help of intuition after the exercise. The theme of the fantasy journeys moves into all areas of being human and includes spiritual healing and the integration of shadow sides of the personality. The exercises also include so-called paranormal phenomena and techniques such as telepathy and psychometry, reading of objects, aura reading, contact with the deceased or non-incarnated parts of consciousness, a critical look at how we reflect on things or how we perceive of the future, reincarnation, karma, and the like. Let us remember that transpersonal psychology also appreciates states of consciousness beyond personal experience and includes spiritual experiences in its notion of the human being. Holism also means to incorporate that which is not yet explicable as a resource. Almost every human being has already had paranormal experiences. Our five senses have their correspondences on planes that may not be scientifically provable, but that can be experienced and contribute to our becoming whole. Of particular importance is the application of our collected experiences in everyday life. Our life teachers, especially health, our relationships and our working life, our vocation, are fields in which we apply the insights gained during the fantasy journeys. While insights can uplift us, it is only the practical implementation of what is recognized that leads to change. In this way, daily life, with its ever-increasing demands, becomes a sparring partner in which each individual can grow according to their circumstances. The Trilogos Method has set itself the goal of the individuation of the human being, the responsibility of the individual for the whole, each and every one according to their potential. When we connect the SQ with EQ, or I believe and trust with I feel, we empower ourselves to find our own way, to shape it and to embark on it. True spirituality does not get caught in the fabric of the ego. When the power of the SQ activates the EQ, and the EQ cooperates with the IQ, a space for action arises whose options are always aligned for the benefit of all. The explorers of antiquity set out for new horizons, even though their eyes had them believe that there is an edge at the Earth's horizon. May you too set out boldly to discover your wholeness. Dare to explore the fringes of science, not for the purpose of gathering evidence, but to allow your talents to blossom. Go within yourself and grow beyond yourself. Our world needs people who are ready to embark on the adventure of becoming human. Everything is within you. Light the spark of your feu sacré and allow the light of knowledge to shine through your deeds. In stillness, I feel homesick, a yearning. I feel as if I'm becoming undone, a trembling, a fearful nothingness filled with inner emptiness. Abandoned in this place of stillness, I grow and mature, with questions coming to me in the obscurity of night, such as, where do I come from? Who am I? Where do I want to go? In perfect silence, I heal. It carries me home, like a soap bubble on the wind, to myself, to what I am. Seated beside birch-white trees of life, I enjoy my psycho-spiritual home. Linda Vera Roethlisberger, Kusnacht, fall of 2012. The author. Linda Vera Roethlisberger was born in 1956 in Bern, Switzerland. After graduating from the Pädagogische Hochschule, a teacher's college in Bern, she worked as a teacher from 1976 to 1989. In 1981-82, she took painting courses at the Académie Port-Royal in Paris and studied French at the Sorbonne. A key experience she had in 1984 led her to embark on a new life path where she explored, trained, and developed her mediumistic abilities with 3 renowned teachers. Sylvia Wallemann, from Switzerland, focuses on meditation and light work. Dr. Milan Rizal, from the United States, prominent researcher on ESP and who worked for the Swiss Parapsychological Society. And Gordon Higginson, from the United Kingdom, principal from Stansted Hall, College of Spiritualism, acclaimed British medium and healer. Driven by her passion for philosophy, psychology, pedagogy, and alternative sciences, Ms. Roethlisberger pursued her desire to help other people holistically, as well as to develop a concept that would guide those interested in unfolding their psyche by means of course-based learning modules. Her first courses on extrasensory perception, held in 1986, were met with great interest, motivating Linda Vera Roethlisberger to continue developing seminar series. In 1990, she founded TRILOGOS in Küsnacht, near Zurich, an ideologically independent institute for personality and consciousness training. It was under the aegis of this institute that she then developed her life work, a complete training concept for the unfolding and training of psycho-spiritual capabilities in theory and practice, the Trilogos Method, over a period of 22 years. In summer 2012, she founded the TRILOGOS Foundation. The TRILOGOS Foundation. Linda Vera Roethlisberger founded the non-profit TRILOGOS Foundation out of the realization that the formation and development of an individual's personality not only plays a central role in their well-being, but also contributes to societal development. The TRILOGOS Foundation sees itself as a research, education, discussion, and exchange platform for people interested in holistic and new life concepts. Its goal is to support humans in being human, in other words, their humanness. To find other publications authored by Linda Vera Roethlisberger and/or associates in German, go to www.trilogos.ch or in English to www.trilogos.com.
You listen to Journey to Wisdom, Faith, Love, Hope, Breaking into a New Era. The Light is Within You. Written by Linda Vera Roethlisberger. Spoken by Terry Collins, New York City, USA. Copyright 2024, Trilogos Foundation.